She picks up the phone. I say, I'm calling to say goodbye, and I'm sobbing.
You've had some difficult thoughts about staying on this planet. Who did you call?
So the story starts before that, if I could.
Of course.
So it's a Friday afternoon. Actually, it's Thursday afternoon, and I decide that I'm going to kill myself. And so I go home that night. I have a conversation with Chris, and in that conversation, I tell her that I'm deeply depressed. And I think that was the first time that I was as descriptive as I was about how deep that was. If you say to somebody that doesn't suffer from depression and doesn't experience depression that you're depressed, they're looking at it from their lens. They can't possibly understand the depth of the darkness. It was in that conversation that I really explained the depth of my darkness. And that darkness is, I'm done. I want to be dead. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Being depressed is like living underwater. My oldest daughter is the one who gave me this description, and it's very fit. You're deep underwater, 15, 20 feet. It's getting darker as you're descending. You can't hear very well. You can't see very well. You can't move very well. That's what being depressed feels like to me. I was in the deepest, darkest ocean I'd ever been in at that moment. On that Thursday afternoon, it was May 5th of 2005. And I said to Chris, I'm feeling this depression. I don't think I said to her, I'm going to kill myself, but I definitely said, I feel like I want to die. And so I wake up the next morning, I go to work, right? What do? I go to work. That's insane. But I'm in my office in downtown New Haven, Connecticut, looking out the window on the 5th floor. Yale University is across the green, and I'm just staring out the window, trying not to jump. And I spent almost 4 hours, maybe 5, in that office by myself. People are out in the office. I own this company. I ran this business. People are out in the office. Phones are ringing. I can hear everything that's going on. And I'm just in there thinking, all right, if I just jump out the window, I can end all this right now. For whatever reason, I don't. I go down, get in my car, and now I'm driving north on 95, right? Major highway in Connecticut, 100 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour. I'm just looking for a place to drive my car into, a rock. And I decide that I didn't tell Chris that I was going to leave. I intimated it, but I didn't say it. So I'm going to call her and leave her a message. And, it's 2005, right? So there's no smartphones. She has a flip phone.
Yeah.
So I call the phone, and she never answers the phone. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. Kids are descending on the house. All kinds of activity happening. She won't answer. I'll leave her a message, and that's the end of that. She picks up the phone, and I say, I'm calling to say goodbye. And I'm sobbing uncontrollably, driving up this highway. And, she's got the kids in the room, in the kitchen. I can hear them all running around. And she says, the house phone is ringing. And my sister is a dean at Princeton University. And she's got a lot of experience with mental health issues. She's calling my wife on the house phone. So now my wife's got me on one phone and my sister on the other phone. And she yells into the phone, don't go anywhere. Your sister's calling. Your sister's on the phone. I need help. Turns out my sister hadn't been to our house in 2 years. She lives in Princeton, New Jersey, and we live in Connecticut. She's maybe a half a mile behind me on the highway.
Oh. Big sister.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And they talk me off the road because of that. It's somewhat of a blur. And the next thing I know, I'm in her car, driving to the Yale Psychiatric Center in New Haven, and that's where I ended up getting. Starting to get some drugs, starting to get some medication. It was a Friday night. They didn't leave me there. My wife said, I can't leave him here. She had to sign away all kinds of indemnification saying, look, if he hurts himself, it's on me. They basically drugged me so badly that I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days and found another place for me to go. I wound up in a hospital called Silver Hill Hospital, which is in New Canaan, Connecticut. It's an amazing place. It was a gift. and they wound up getting a bed there for me on either Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember. But I spent a couple of days at home in bed, and then they took me to Silver Hill, where I got locked in to start the process.
How'd you feel when you saw your sister? When you heard that when she said, did she tell you she's a mile behind you?
She said, your sister is right behind you.
And what did you feel?
You need to pull over.
Did you feel relief? Did you feel anger?
I remember feeling
disappointment?
angry because I couldn't do it. And I was so pissed off at myself and so just dejected that I was failing. And I finally had decided.
You made a declaration.
After all this time, I had decided that I was finished. And I felt like I gave up on myself. And I know it sounds crazy, I was crazy. But I did feel relief when I got into my sister's car. But up to that point, I was like, fuck, I blew this opportunity. This could be over. And I felt that way for like 2 or 3 weeks after. Yeah.
How'd she handle that? Her little sibling,
she was in crisis, containment mode. And she knew what she was doing. And so it was good that she was there, obviously, but also from that perspective, I think it was very helpful for everybody, my wife, my kids.
Were you scared when you went to Yale, to the hospital?
No, I was out of it. I didn't know what was going on.
You just were...
Yeah.
Like...
There's a moment in time that Chris talks about after Yale. I was there for probably 5 or 6 hours, maybe, before they took me out of there. But the next day, I think it was the next day, Chris tells this story about sitting in our backyard next to our pool. And I am just empty. I'm an empty, blank person. She said, you had dead eyes. And at one point during that weekend, they didn't want to leave me alone.
No.
And I guess there was a moment in time where she had to take me to the store, to CVS, to get medication. There was, for whatever reason, there wasn't coverage to have me alone. So she brought me in the car. And I tried to open the door to jump out of the car. And that's, I think, when she realized, holy shit, this is really bad.
You were disassociated. You had left.
Yeah.
You were not.
There was a point where I was visualizing jumping out the window, right, second floor of my house, and landing on a picket fence. And I thought, well, if I hit the fence at the right angle, I can impale myself and end this. It didn't stop. It didn't stop for weeks. Yeah. I had this feeling that, like I said, I blew the opportunity that I had and the justification that I had to end it and really get it done.
When those hard thoughts are like an onslaught, just coming and coming and coming, how were you handling it then at the time? When you look back, you were handling it. Were you just raw dogging it, or would you'd pretty much, it sounds like you had died.
Yeah,
you were there,
to a certain extent,
but
yeah.
you were not. You were not. It sounds like someone could have shoved you up with drugs, and you would have been fine. Yeah.
Well, in essence, that's what they did. They put me to sleep. They tranquilized me so that I wouldn't hurt myself or anybody else. And so, I was sort of entombed in my bed. I couldn't move. I had visuals that I was moving, but I wasn't. And so, and it was one of those things that saved my life.
You talked about you tried to get out of the car while you were going to CVS. Your friend helped take you to Silver Hill. Mm. It was Chris and your friend.
Yep.
What was that like when he realized he had to child lock the back door? How did that?
I could see the terror in his face. I think that he was shocked because people that thought they knew me, right, saw me as this sort of happy-go-lucky, fun person to be around. I played basketball with this guy for years. I was competitive. I was engaged. You would think that I had it all figured out. that my life was perfect. So I know it was terrified. He was terrified, and he didn't understand. And it's interesting to see that experience on somebody else's face. And also, he stepped up. He did what he had to do, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah. Bill sounds like a nice man. When you pulled up to Silver Hill and you realized it was an institution and not a fancy hospital or retreat, what were you thinking? Were you scared?
No, I had given up. I was done. I was basically like, okay, whatever.
Surrender.
Yeah, I'm not me anymore. I'm not a human. I'm just this lump of flesh. And Silver Hill is a beautiful place. Like, it looks like a bed and breakfast. And so you don't even realize it until it didn't hit me until these vapor lock doors closed.
Yeah.
And I had nowhere to go. They took my shoelaces, they took my belt, they took my necklace, they took everything, and I had nothing.
You are literally belonging. You don't belong anymore to yourself.
No, you are not in control.
Can you check yourself out once you're in that position?
I think some people can, yeah. I was not one of those people.
No, I mean, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
but.
yeah. It's an interesting question. About a week into it, I realized that I was in a unit, an acute care unit that had 24 patients. About 15 of them were voluntary, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that until about a week and a half in.
Oh.
And they were there under their own
and you were not
desire.
voluntary.
No, I was signed over. And couldn't leave until they, from a statutory standpoint, knew that I was safe, that I wasn't going to hurt me or anybody else.
Yeah. I know that's always the biggest concern is that in your intent to hurt yourself, there's bystanders.